Welcome to tonight's Fresno County District 3 Supervisors debate between incumbent Sal Quintero and challenger Luis Chavez, a Fresno City Council member. I'm Bill McEwen, your moderator and GV Wire's news director. Tonight's debate is brought to you by GV Wire and CMAC, Fresno's Community Media Access Collaborative here in downtown Fresno. Both candidates are well known in Fresno, especially in southeast neighborhoods. Quintero served 16 years. That's 4 terms split over 2 different stints on the city council before earning election to the Board of Supervisors. Chavez served on the Fresno Unified School Board, representing the Roosevelt High area, before taking over Quintero's council seat in 2017. He will term out with the 2026 election if he loses his challenge to the incumbent. The candidates are well known to each other too, as Chavez is Quintero's former chief of staff. Once political allies, we'll find out tonight if they remain friends. Fresno County District 3 faces many challenges, as it has for decades, and one of the reasons for that, perhaps, is that its constituents are less likely to be politically engaged. The latest numbers show District 3 with the fewest registered voters among the county's 5 regions. That's about 83,000 voters. That compares to nearly 125,000 registered voters in District 5. Tonight, we hope to spur more interest in political activity in District 3. So, what are the challenges facing this district? There's widespread poverty, life expectancy is shorter, air pollution levels are higher, and median income is below the Fresno average. In addition, only 12% of the registered voters in D3 have 4-year college degrees. Thus, this election is important for a community that has made strides but has a long way to go to achieve economic equity with many other Fresno neighborhoods. We'll begin tonight's conversation with an opening statement from challenger Luis Chavez.
Thank you, Bill, and thank you to GV Wire for coordinating this event. I've been working hard for the last year and a half, going door to door, and more than anything, listening to the constituents of District 3. It's a pretty large geographical area. It's one of the most urban districts in the County Board of Supervisors jurisdiction. Goes all the way from American Avenue all the way to Shaw. Bordered by Peach, and then bordered by the Highway 99 corridor that we have. And I can tell you that from going door to door and talking to residents, I see a lot of the needs out there. I've kept a long list of specific needs that are in the community, from Callaway to Mayfair to the Fresno High Tower area to areas by the airport, and now the new jurisdiction that covers the Fashion Fair neighborhoods up north. For me, this is something that I've always said before, these seats don't belong to anybody. Every 4 years you go out and you interview for the job, and at the end of the day we have to put our fate in the hands of the voters. But I'm very confident that we're building a broad coalition. We've managed to secure the endorsement of the Central Labor Council, the building and construction trades, the unions that represent the city of Fresno, some also in the county as well. And I think it's because they know me, they trust me, and they know that I'm going to work with them. I'm very proud to also have the endorsement of my colleagues on the city council, amongst other community and faith-based leaders. So I'm looking forward to a good conversation about what our plans are, what we've done in our community. And I've always said this, that I think there are 3 things that people want to know about you when you run for office. 1 is who you are, your experience, your bio. 2 is who's supporting you. And then I think the 3rd one is the most important one, is what have you specifically done in the community to make things better for the residents of Fresno.
Thank you for that, Luis. Sal, welcome to the forum tonight. Good to see you, and here's your opportunity for your opening statement.
Well, thank you, Bill. And thank you, GV Wire, and for this evening. I look forward to sharing my experiences that I've had from the city council days to the present. What's important, I believe, too, is not only our experience, but our record in terms of we've been able to accomplish. And I've always held to the philosophy that the most important thing to a constituent or a person is when they wake up in the morning, what they see out their front window. And that's if the potholes aren't fixed on their street, if the tree needs trimming, or the sidewalk is raised, or the street light is out. If government can't fix that, how are we going to fix the rest of it? And I believe in, I've always held the belief, and I've done that, is to return phone calls no matter what. Somebody calls our office, they call for a reason, and I'm always there to return the call or show up at their residence or business and see what we can do to help them out and what concerns they have. And so I've always been hands-on, constituent oriented, and because of that, a lot of the organizations, labor organizations within the County of Fresno have endorsed me, of going back to even Sheriff McGarrian, Sheriff Mims, Sheriff Zanoni, our District Attorney Lisa Smith-Camp, a large amount of array of business people in the different industries, and more important is the constituents. And I really believe in the polling. When people say, what kind of polling have you done? Well, I just say, whoever answers the door, that's my poll. And I've had a lot of experiences with people that answer the door in terms of giving me what their concerns are. And I don't wait to get elected. I start making phone calls as soon as that person has those concerns or calls me. Like I said, I always return my calls. My flyers have my cell phone number, so that's what the way that I work, and will continue to work. So thank you. Look forward to this evening.
Yeah, so one of the reasons that we have forums like this, at least when I'm asking the questions, is to put the candidates on the record about what they will deliver for the constituents. And that helps me, let's say 2 years from now, take a checklist at that. So Louis, can you tell us specifically 4 goals or signature projects that you'll complete before the end of 2028, and how these will improve the lives of District 3 residents?
Yeah, absolutely. I get this question quite a bit at the door, actually, by constituents, because they want to know, what do you want to do? What do you want to accomplish? I think one of the biggest things that the county is responsible for is social services. We know what happened with the foster care crisis. I think that issue has come up quite a bit. I want to modernize and make the foster care system more user-friendly for people that are interested in being foster parents. As you know, I've been a foster parent for 6 years. It's something that's very near and dear in me. We need to really beef up the ranks of qualified foster parents in Fresno County. We have over 2,000 kids that are right now waiting to be placed. And for me, one of the biggest shortfalls of the county has been not investing enough in the social workers. You talk to the social workers and they have caseloads of upwards of 65, individuals, and these are children that have been traumatized, abused, and abandoned. So that would be one of the big issues I would focus on. Another thing is the public health system. I think for me, the pandemic really showed how much of a antiquated and I would say archaic public health system we have, where we were actually designated one of the major COVID hotspots during the pandemic. People that got sick and unfortunately died at a higher rate than other places in the country. The third one for me is going to be the economic development conversation that we've been able to touch on. I was the author of the Support Small Business Act. I want to bring that county-wide. When you go into communities like Calawa, when you go into communities like Mayfair, oftentimes they felt left behind because the city is around them, but yet they see the city making investments in sidewalks and curbs and gutters, but they're not getting their streets repaved or clean or part of the Beautify Fresno initiative that we've pushed forward. So I would say those are some of the things that I want to focus on the county side. And I think one of the biggest ones that I'll say, and I said this the other evening at a community meeting with residents, I want to make sure that we set the goal of 1,000 beds for the homeless in the first 100 days when I get elected to the County Board of Supervisors. I want people to imagine what would happen if the city and the county actually pooled their resources together and came up with shelters just like we did at the city level in purchasing the old hotels on Parkway and Golden State. I think it's pretty telling that the city of Fresno operates 900 beds. The county of Fresno decides to contract that out. I think that makes it more difficult to leverage resources. So those are some of the things that I would want to focus on in making sure that Fresno County residents are being served.
Thank you for that. And Sal, signature projects. We know you focus on constituent services, but what are the big things that you can tell constituents that you will deliver over the next 4 years I'm asking about one a year, not an unreasonable demand, so it's 4 big projects.
Well, we've already started working on those, and it's taken time, of course, because of the planning that's required. I can tell you that just this past year, working with Congressman Jim Costa, and everybody's district was redrawn, and so his part of his new district was the community of Calwa. It's near and dear to me because I grew up in that area, and I've seen very little change over the years. So my first goal was to clean up the neighborhoods that are in the county portion. But through the efforts and working with Congressman Costa, we were able to secure $3 million from the federal government to go into those neighborhoods, build new streets, fix gutters, curbs, sidewalks, and trim the trees, and just to clean it up and get it updated. That's huge, because that's one of the most underserved communities in this country, is Calwa. The other part is countywide. Last year, I brought in a consultant company to meet with our CAO and go and do an application to the federal government to start putting broadband in those underserved communities. We're talking about throughout Fresno County. And I can tell you that one award was recently done to the community of Riverdale. And I believe there's about $25 billion of federal monies available. We put in the application, and we've started on that already. So that's a big step forward for me, because in terms of what I want to accomplish, because we need to update our smaller communities. The walking that I've done in going through the neighborhoods, and a lot of the neighborhoods for the district that I represent are within the city of Fresno. So I can tell you that it was mentioned earlier, of course, that the number of families that have the district within the district, a lot of them don't have college degrees to come back. Yes, they do have it. It's just that they've grown up, they've gotten their education, and they've left. But I'm starting to see that some of them are coming back, and so that's going to increase our numbers. It's important for us. I think the pandemic did a disservice to everybody. Economic-wise, we're still seeing businesses, small business to large businesses, struggle to make ends meet. We see them close down, and it's difficult when the monies that you have to work with is a lot of it comes through as federal government monies, which was the ARPA monies that recently came through, and how can we distribute it to try and make it help out our communities? And basically, there's a lot of needs, but a lot of the things when we make those decisions is show me the money. Where's the money for us to try and help everybody out? So we have to be careful in who we provide those monies to.
So I just want to follow up on the foster care situation, because big headlines, obviously a black eye for the county. Mm-hmm. I mean, children are our future. What's your assessment of the situation now, and have you done anything to improve this?
Yes, I can tell you that, of course, everybody can look and see what happens. We all know, okay, to date, we have a new director within that agency. We've made a lot of improvements in terms of how we take care of the foster children. We've focused more too, and also providing housing to those that have gone out of foster care, that have turned 18. We've provided housing for some of those to continue to help them out and still provide services for them. So we have worked hard to modernize everything. The pictures that you saw of children sleeping on desks and floors and that type of thing, they're gone. I mean, as soon as, and part of that fault too is not having the director inform us at that time. That's why they're not there. That director's not there.
Okay, thank you for that. Let's go to shorter answers and a couple of questions designed to give voters a barometer on where you stand. And we'll start with you. Let's start with Sal. California's housing shortage has sent rents and home prices soaring. Fresno's no exception. Proposition 33 on the November ballot will give local officials a greater ability to enact rent control. Sal, do you support Prop 33, and do you support rent control in general?
I believe in a free market enterprise, but at the same time, I believe we need to work together with the property owners and see what we can do in terms of rent control. I think that we do have to have some form of that. The property owners that continue to raise the rents and that type of thing, I believe they're going to be out of business pretty soon, and they have no choice but to lower the rents. And at the same time, we as a community and as a county need to work more closely with the property owners.
Yeah, but when there's a housing shortage, aren't the property owners kind of in control there?
To some degree, yes, but that's why we also focus on trying to provide affordable housing as government to those folks that are unable to do that.
Louis, same question for you.
Yeah,
Will
no,
you
I've
be
been
voting for Prop 33, and what's your thought on rent control?
Yeah, I've been very public. I've gotten this question quite a bit. I don't support rent control for this simple reason. When you do the research, and I'm a very data-driven person, you go back and you look at what happened back in 1984 when they implemented rent control for mobile home parks. You know how many mobile home parks have been built since 1984 in Fresno? 0. And so that would have been housing stock that we could have actually built here, but people, don't want that uncertainty. What is true, though, is that we do have a lot of rents that have been going up. And the fundamental problem for that, and I've said this many times, probably about 3-4 years ago, is this is a problem we can literally build our way out of. I remember back in the day, you would see the for rent signs. People were trying to incentivize renters to go and rent units, free washer and dryer, 2-3 months rent, because the supply was high. And then when you look at what CEQA has done for, the state of California and made affordable housing not that affordable to build and limited, and, there are people that challenge projects, that's really at the heart of what's going on with the rent prices going up. Now, Fresno, for the most part, is still more affordable than areas like, Southern California, Northern California. But we had this discussion the other day at the city of Fresno, when we have to comply with the housing element, right? We haven't built enough affordable housing. In my district, I've built quite a bit of projects that are affordable housing, more specifically for senior citizens that we know are actually the most vulnerable population to be affected by, the higher rent prices that are going up. Matter of fact, in a couple of weeks, we're going to be announcing a big project for one of the big senior complexes in South Fresno, that we're actually helping them with some of their green energy, modernization and weatherization programs to try to keep those rents as low as possible. But I think, when you go down the path of rent control, it just doesn't work. You see other jurisdictions that have struggled with it. But again, the data shows us that that's not the answer. The answer is to actually build more affordable housing.
Also on the November ballot is Proposition 36, which repeals parts of Prop 47 sentencing reform by increasing incarceration for serial thieves and drug offenders. It basically, for drug offenders, offers them the choice of rehabilitation or prison. Louis, are you backing Prop 36? And tell the audience why or why not.
Yeah, I back in the late 90s, early 2000s, I actually worked as a facilitator for that version of Prop 36, which focused more on the rehabilitation and the substance abuse treatment. I used to do large groups of anywhere from 9 to 15 folks that, got caught for possession, for the subsequent actions of either stealing or larceny or vandalism, things of that sort. So I think that type of approach works. I think what we're doing right now is just completely not realistic. You have folks that go into the stores in the area that I represent, for example, Home Depot, and are running out with, power tools that are worth in the thousands. And oftentimes, the store owners don't even want to prosecute because they're the revolving jail door that we have now at the county. And so I think we do need something in place to that. I am going to be supporting Prop 36 and making sure we're revamping the process with a focus and a priority on the rehabilitation and the treatment. I think when Prop 47 was passed, it was sold as a false sense of we're revamping the system, we're going to make it better, and we're going to focus on treatment. Well, guess what? The treatment never came, and the treatment ended up being just letting folks out in the streets. I live close to the area of First and Tulare, and we have 2 shopping centers and 2 gas stations there. And at nighttime here in the evening, you see a lot of those folks that are under the influence that go into El Super, that go into the Tom's store there and just run out with merchandise without paying. Nobody wants to be there. Nobody wants to be around that. So I think Prop 36 is needed, but I'm going to be following the rehabilitation component that was promised last time and it was not delivered. This time it needs to be delivered, because you can't jail everybody. That's just not realistic. You got to focus on treatment and the mental health assistance that people need in order for them to live a productive life.
And Sal, what about you? What are you going to do when you mark your ballot on Prop 36?
I'm going to support it. I also believe in a lot of the council members' comments. I often think back when I hear business owners, especially the small family businesses, tell me their horror stories or experiences of people coming into their stores under the influence, stealing and wrecking their place. I often think about the 3 strikes and you're out type of a version. I said, well, this might be part of that version. And as we move forward with that, hopefully it will pass. That we put those reforms in place where we can do some good in terms of the rehabilitation. I think we need to fine tune that if we get there.
So a follow-up for both of you, because after sentencing reform, the state did offer pots of money. It also did with AB 109, and a lot of people said Fresno County didn't want to be bothered, didn't apply in a timely fashion, wasn't aggressive about it. If Prop 36 passes, and just yes or no, are you going to be pushing for Fresno County to get the money it needs?
Absolutely.
And Louis?
Yeah, absolutely. I think what's missing at the County Board of Supervisors is folks that can go up to Sacramento and leverage relationships. I've developed those as a council member, and I actually have a track record of going up to the state and advocating for more money. Oftentimes, when you look at the sheets of the awardees, I monitor those on a every grant cycle basis, and I always see Fresno County left off on there. And I've called and asked, hey, why are we not getting our fair share of tax dollars? Well, they didn't apply, or they weren't interested in some of the strings that are attached. So I think that needs to change. I think we're in a space now where we're not a small rural community. We're a big metropolitan area that has metropolitan problems, substance abuse being one of them, the mental health situation that we also have out of hand. I think there's going to be that new law that's coming down, the mental health courts, that I think Fresno County should be participating in. We have about 800 of those residents that, in my view, are called chronic, folks out there in the street that have mental health issues, that are distraught. And I think those are the folks we need to focus on, the ones that are very aggressively, panhandling in shopping centers, and because they need to survive. We need to take those folks off the street. I don't think it's humane to leave folks off on the street there, especially in 100+ degree weather that we have. So I think that needs to be part of our conversation as a county. And again, the area that we're going to represent has a big issue with that, and I think I would call us ground zero for that type of problem, because you don't see Clovis with that problem, you don't see other areas with that problem. It's always Fresno, South Fresno, to say the least.
So that leads us into the next question, which is homelessness might be the most vexing issue of our time. Reducing it in a meaningful way requires close collaboration between leaders at all levels. Why isn't Fresno doing better, Sal?
I believe we have made some strides in terms of providing the housing. What I tell folks when working in Fresno, why aren't we getting more housing and that type of thing? Well, or why isn't the county doing it? one of the roles of the county is, yes, we do get monies for housing. We contract out. We contract out with Housing Authority. We contract out with RH Community Builders to build affordable housing. Earlier this year, there was the old Arthur's Toy Store at Shields and Blackstone that was turned into affordable housing, and that's being run by Housing Authority. Though that's some of those units are for the foster kids that have turned out of this system that are 18 and over now. And so we're providing the housing. The services, though, is what the county focuses on through our public health, through our social services, behavioral health, mental health. We provide a lot of those services, and that's where a lot of our monies go to. I know the importance of providing that housing. And so we need to focus.
So many residents are frustrated by this, and they hear elected officials say it's going to get better, we're doing this, we're doing that. They don't see it changing in their own reality. So from your standpoint as a supervisor, Sal, what can the county do better? Does it need more funding, better collaboration? As you see it, what's the missing ingredient?
I think it's, I believe, there is no missing ingredient. I just think that we need to do a better job at it, at what we're doing with the monies we have. And we've worked we have a CAO now that's been there for 2 years that's paying more attention to those issues. And we're also moving forward as the Board of Supervisors, giving direction to say, let's do better with this and let's go after more grants. Now, I can tell you when I first got there was hardly anything going on in terms of the county and Sacramento of applying for grants, and other than each department saying, well, we did receive some monies. They said, no, we need to go after grants. And that's coming forward now. We're having the different departments pay more attention to the monies that are available, including as an example too in our juvenile justice system, and improving that and going after grant monies for the youth, but also focusing more, of course, on the homeless and the housing. I can tell you when the homeless really became an issue, that the county and the city started working together in terms of having continuous meetings and seeing how we could better work together.
So what do you see as the missing ingredient in this, Luis?
I don't know which meeting Sal is talking about, but those meetings haven't happened in a long time, and I think it's because everybody's so territorial about their own jurisdiction. I understand the dynamics. I used to work at the county when I worked for Susan Anderson, and I understand the city too. They're very different governmental structures, but at the end of the day, we all represent the same constituents, whether they're in the city or county islands. And you're right, people are frustrated. I just turned in an encampment 2 days ago as I was walking out there in the neighborhood where you had folks that are shooting up drugs on a way, on a school route for kids. They have, trash that's being collected. And so to me, those folks shouldn't be in those neighborhoods because they're not getting services, and they're definitely not making a, safe environment for our kids and our families. But I'll tell you, here's what's missing, the true collaborative effort between the city and the county. And I want folks out there to imagine what that would look like, to have the city leverage their resources, to have the county actually leverage their resources. The city of Fresno operates those 900 beds that I just mentioned. We purchased the hotels, we purchased, the facilities. How great would it be if we actually had the county come and actually provide services at those locations so people wouldn't have to travel in and out of neighborhoods and locations. We haven't had that, and that's what I want to bring to the county. I want to bring that, relationship. I have a great relationship with, my colleagues. I plan to do joint town hall meetings with them. There's no reason why I can't do a joint town hall meeting and bring county resources, bring city resources with, Councilmember Maxwell or Council President Perea or Councilmember Arias that has probably the most homeless folks in his district. That's what's really been missing, and that's what needs to happen. That gap needs to be bridged between the two jurisdictions.
So we say in private enterprise, 1 and 1 has to make 3. And in a really good run business, 1 and 1 may make 5. And so I think a lot of voters at this point would like to see government kind of adopt that attitude as well. Sal, general plans. Boy, what a boring subject, huh? You say general plan, everybody, their eyes glaze over. But it's very important because it's the blueprint for future development, and it's one of the keys really to improving quality of life, economic opportunity. Let me ask you, Sal, what are you doing to ensure that the county's new general plan is being put to work fairly?
Well, I can tell you, we've approved the general plan for the county, of course, and right behind it, of course, we could receive 2 or 3 lawsuits, and we're going to work through that. I can tell you when I was on the city council, and you were probably reporting on that, as general plans get adopted, there's always changes. And over the years, somebody wants to develop this, another person wants to do something else over here, and they get changed. They eventually get changed. We never really stick to the general plan that's approved, and that's what we're going through now. As time goes by, in terms of bringing all that together, that's what's going to happen.
And so, Lewis, you were one of the council members who signed off on suing the county over their new general plan. What's so wrong with the plan that the city has to go to court over it? And really, given the city's own growth struggles, isn't this a case of the pot calling the kettle black?
No, and I'm going to tell you why. The city of Fresno has focused their resources on the inner core of the city. This district is actually at the inner core, and you know, the people that live there are people that have lived there for generations, some of our historic neighborhoods. We know what urban sprawl does to our community, and I'll point to an example not too far from here. When you look at the developments over the river in Madera, you now have people that have left Fresno to go live over there that now have to drive, 10, 12 miles just to get to the urban core here, causing pollution, causing road wear and tear. Here's why the city of Fresno sued. When you have this general plan that attempts to build another city on the outskirts of the 180 and the eastern side of Fresno County, what's that going to do? That's going to take resources away from the inner core of the city and put us in a situation where we're now trying to come back from that, right? When you have sprawl that happens in the surrounding parts of the city, it takes away from the resources. And something that's right along the lines of the general plan is that MOU agreement that the city of Fresno has with the county. For every dollar that taxpayers pay, the county takes upwards of 62 cents for every dollar. The city now is left with 30-something cents to try to, triage, so to speak, and neglect, because they don't have the funding, a lot of the older neighborhoods. So to me, that general plan did not account for a lot of the issues that are being brought about it. I'm in support of people that want to build homes, that want to, create jobs and spur economic development, but they also have a responsibility. They also have an accountability to account for how are people going to get around, the vehicle miles traveled that they will incur, the greenhouse emissions that we have to reduce. We're now in October something and it's 104 degrees. I haven't seen that here in a very long time, and there's a reason for that, right? We are a product of our environment. We have some of the highest incidences of pollution here in the Central Valley, and that's why we have people that have a lower life expectancy that live in South Fresno. We can't go about doing the same thing over and over and expect something different. I think we have an opportunity to frame something where we can actually grow up and invest in the inner core of the city, in our downtown here where we are. Because if we keep building mini cities around the jurisdiction, we're just taking away the wealth and the income that we need to sustain our city long term.
So would you like to respond to that at all?
Sure. And I just want to bring it in a little bit into let's talk about Fresno City. And during this campaign, I'm the type person that just walks neighborhoods, knock on doors. If you'll remember, Bill, some years ago, the city of Fresno worked with the Building Industry Association and said, okay, you want to build houses? What about the infill that we have in the city of Fresno, where you've got 2 or 3 lots? Well, developers said we can't make money just building 1 or 2 houses. So what worked out at that time was that the home builders opened up an account, put money into it from the sales of their homes, a certain percentage, and from that evolved the city starting to buy empty lots, infill and in infill neighborhoods, and rehabbing older homes. That money in that project eventually was transferred over to have EOC administer that program. In fact, Nathan Magzig was the director of that at the time. And so that started it off. It's a slow build, but it improves the neighborhoods. I don't know why we can't say, okay, let's be a little bit creative. It's going to take time, but let's start filling those in and improving those older neighborhoods.
And Luis, it looks like you want to react to that.
The city of Fresno grew by 48,000 people in the last 10 years. 41% of that additional growth is concentrated in Southeast Fresno. That's why we see additional pedestrian accidents. That's why we see additional traffic. That's why we see additional wear and tear that we're now trying to reinvest. This next week, we're going to actually announce a number of safe routes to school investments that we're doing. But to me, that's really the problem that we have. We're not prepared to accommodate the big influx of residents that have moved here from the Bay Area because it's not affordable, from Los Angeles area because it's also not affordable. We are essentially the last frontier, and we're going to keep getting those additional residents. The census data showed us that the 48,000 people that are here, which I think is actually an undercount, because we know that a lot of people that live in those communities are scared to disclose how many people live in the house. It's actually more. And so the pressures of having additional residents here in the area, the solution that I just heard is just, they used to maybe do 4 or 5 homes a year. It's not sustainable, and it's not enough.
It's not the scale that you believe is needed.
It's not. Like, we need to build more multifamily units. That's what we are
so
needing in Fresno.
let me put the pressure on you now, because I've read where the Dyer administration has said, we're not going to have much growth, and use that as a justification for not moving forward on housing. And that contradicts what the state numbers show, obviously, but you're there, you're on the council. What's the problem? Why, when everyone says we need more housing, and we're getting more, but really, as you say, not at the level to accommodate the number of people that want to live here? What's going on?
The simple answer is that, we can always argue about statistics and data, right? There's lies, damn lies, and then there's statistics. But the thing that I see on a daily basis is I see the additional people that live in my community on the Cesar Chavez corridor, folks that go to the fair, folks that go to downtown. And so you don't really need the data to tell you that it's going to grow at 2%. The numbers are there. 48,000 additional people in the last 10 years. Where are they going to live, right? They have to have a place to go to. And by the way, Mayor Dyer did not say that we're not going to move forward with growing. I think that's not a realistic expectation. I think the city of Fresno is going to grow, but I think the conversation needs to transition to smart growth. What does that actually look like? I represent an area that has had the most developments added to its, jurisdiction in the last, 5-7 years. So I see a lot of the developments out there, and I'll give you some quick examples. The neighborhood over there, the old McMillan homes, the Granville homes, the Bonadelli homes, he's doing new products, and I think that's great. When you look at what Bonadelli homes did, they're doing 3-story homes that now accommodate additional family members. The corner on Peach and Jensen is going to be a single home residential with an additional unit attached to it. So it's not just building more homes, it's being more creative on the type of products that we're allowing. Right now we're working on a couple of tiny home villages that are going to also accommodate the growth that we're having. So it can't be an either or, it has to be a both and to this equation. That's how we're going to get to the housing, to get, to make sure that rents are affordable, to make sure that people can still buy a piece of the American dream. I think Fresno is the last place where you can actually viably do that, and we need to provide those for families. So City of Fresno is going to grow, but it's going to be a different growth than what happened in the past. We can't have leapfrog development occurring anymore, because now you have to invest millions and millions of dollars in the infrastructure to connect those folks to water and sewer and other services like police and fire. I think there's other solutions too. The Melrose district model, I think, is going to be something that's going to serve us well. If you want to live out there in that area, you're going to have to pay for those services that go along, because the more money we invest that we don't structure it that way, the less money you have for the older neighborhoods that we represent.
Thank you for that.
Bill? Can I
Yes,
make a
go
comment?
ahead. We're on a topic you're both passionate about.
Sure.
Well, you know, as I walked the neighborhoods, the one that I walked recently was, and you're familiar with it, is the Lowell Jefferson neighborhood. You'll remember some years back, HSPs moved into the neighborhood and brought a whole group of people that were interested in buying and establishing their homes there, and they wanted to work on fixing up the neighborhood and hopefully transform it. And I believe it's fallen a little bit short because it's not all completely done. But let me tell you, the improvements that they've made there with what exists, you see those the homes that are built there have larger lots. And what have I seen? I've seen one older home that had a large lot, and they built a playground so the children in the neighborhood can go and play there. You know, and it's open from such and such time to such and such time. The gates are wide open. They've established little book stalls for the children to go and get books, and adults as well. And so it seemed to have worked. And there's some old apartments in there that have been fixed up, rehabilitated. It's affordable housing. I've talked to some of the folks there, and you're seeing a slow transformation. But there's also some empty lots where you can build up and do that. And I think if we look at something like that, I mean, it's not, we don't need to create new models, but look at that and say, why can't we do it in this other older neighborhood?
And so now we're going to come to a question. You're both involved in it. It's not really a challenger incumbent situation. You're both involved. And let me ask you, Sal, on a scale of A to F, you're a teacher in the classroom giving out a grade. What grade would you give the city-county cooperation and the relationships over the past 4 years?
I would give it a C+, because I can tell you when I first got to the county, I saw and felt that there wasn't really much communication going on, and everybody was just kind of staying in their own side of the street or the lane, whatever you want to call it. Slowly, I've seen a transformation of more and more open communication between the electeds and working to try and solve problems. So
Luis, what grade
forward.
would you give?
I would give it a D.
Okay.
The
Difference of opinion
conversations
here.
haven't happened, and I know why. I mean, it's a little bit frustrating sometimes because I think, you know, oftentimes people are territorial about their jurisdiction and their role. But the county, when you look at the charter structure, they're responsible for a lot of the social services. They're responsible for public health and mental health. The city of Fresno is more responsible for, you know, your basic, potholes, street lights, parks, trails, streets, garbage, sewer, water, things of that nature. But I think now, because the frustration has been there with the city and the county not wanting to, you know, do some of their role, the city has now stepped up, and I'll give you two examples. Us stepping up and buying all those motels along the freeway, that's not a city function, but the need is there, right? So we said we have to do something. We can't wait for the county to decide to do something. We had to step up and make sure that we had bed spaces for folks that are, you know, trying to get into transitional housing and things of that sort. But the communication has not been there, and that's what I think needs to change. I'm going to bring that to the County Board of Supervisors when we get there, because you always have competing interests, and at the end of the day, we all represent the same residents, and we need to all be rowing in the same direction. If not, we have the dynamic that we have now, and you know, it is a political year. I think everybody understands that, but the fact that we can't agree on a simple MOU agreement, I think, is pretty telling too. You know, we have this conversation where in the past it's been 50-50, right? The city is providing services, the county is also providing services. It's now gone away from that to a 62-38, and I think that hurts residents in the city of Fresno. Might help, you know, other areas in the rural communities that other supervisors are more, you know, savvy or aggressive about getting resources for their community. But, you know, earlier, you know, supervisor mentioned Riverdale. Well, we represent Callaway and Mayfair. We don't represent Riverdale, and I'm glad they're getting their resources, but we have people that have needs in our community too, and that's our job.
So along the same lines, and we'll stick with you, Luis, why did the city and county, why couldn't they team up to build a a single animal shelter? What happened? Why did the city and the county go their separate ways? Two facilities, and in my view, wasting many millions of dollars.
Territorial. Everything I just described is exactly what played out in that animal shelter conversation. We saw a lot of increase of animals out there, our pets, our dogs, our cats. There are a lot of great organizations that are doing work, and as you recall, the SPCA conversation where the city wanted to have more of a voice, more of a humane treatment of our animals. That wasn't happening. We actually approached the county about doing something like that, and they were not interested in doing that. They felt that they could do it better, and quite honestly, oftentimes they see things that happen in the city as a city problem, right? And again, we all represent the same constituents, and here's the ironic part. I get calls from people in Calawa that have loose dogs on the western side of Cedar, and then by the time folks get out there, they're on the eastern side of the street. So who do you call? Do you call the county? Do you call the city? Oftentimes people will shoo the animals away from the county islands and dump them in the parks that we just built for our dogs and now Radka. And we know those are county animals that have come into our shelter. But to your point, I mean, I want folks to imagine if we had built one big center, we could have pooled our resources and actually been able to help those dogs and cats get adopted at a better rate. But two competing interests, that needs to change, and that has to change.
From your perspective, Sal, explain this.
All the walking I've done, any dogs that I've run into are not wearing city T-shirts or county T-shirts. It's just the residents are very concerned. And I can tell you that the facilities that both the city and the county built are filled. We had a report a few months back from, not us, but a report that was made to the city council that said we need more bodies to help staff, and the shelter is full. Animal shelter. The same thing with the city, with the county. Well, our shelter is full, and then I'm a lifetime member at the SPCA, so I keep in touch with them, and they're filled as well. I mean, it's just philosophical differences in terms of one is no-kill animal shelter, the other one is different. So there's a lot of those differences going on, and people as in the neighborhoods. I mean, I see some of the dogs running around, but a lot of them will keep them around for safety, of course.
So let's go to, and someone mentioned the Cesar Chavez corridor earlier. Louis, from your point of view, why did the renaming of the street, the corridor to honor Cesar Chavez, turn into a major political and even legal fight? And did city leaders confer with their county counterparts before the renaming?
Yes, we received about 800 signatures from folks in the neighborhoods that actually petitioned to get the name changed. This didn't just happen in a vacuum. Oftentimes in the hyperbolic rhetoric that gets mentioned, but that's not what happened. And then from there, I notified the Sunnyside Property Homeowners Association. We sent that same letter to Supervisor Magzik that was going to be effective. We sent it to the county CAO and notified them of what our intention was, because we knew that it wasn't going to be, an easy, task, so to speak. But I think there's this old remnant too of back in the 90s when this conversation happened, because, quite frankly, I think there are a lot of folks that had an issue with Cesar Chavez because he was not necessarily, a type of person that did things the easy way. There were strikes, and there were a lot of powerful, agricultural interests that, he had to go up against. But he did it because he was trying to get, safer working conditions and running water and conditions that were more humane for farm workers. You look at the area where the name was changed. I'm very proud to represent an area that has the highest concentration of food processing plants, from Ledesri to Fury to Pasta, Kraft, Riches, Lions, Wawona, all of those folks. They're the residents that live there in that community, and they're all farm workers. And to me, that was something very small that we could have done to honor that, to honor their legacy, to honor their hard work. And what bothered me most from that conversation was that a lot of people tried to vilify Cesar Chavez during that process. But just 2-3 years before, when the pandemic happened, we depended on them. We designated them essential workers. They couldn't Zoom into work. They couldn't call in. They couldn't, do a Zoom meeting or anything like that. And to me, that was something very small. We have thousands of streets in the city of Fresno that are named after very important people that did a lot of great work. And this was one single street that we were attempting to rename, and all of a sudden it cost a big, I think that's more a reflection on the people that were opposing it than the conversation that happened.
So, Sal, the County Board of Supervisors unanimously voted against the renaming or to oppose the renaming. Share your perspective on that.
What the county opposed was the renaming of certain parts that were in the county along the corridor. That's what they opposed, and that was after we had gotten letters, emails, whatever, from folks that lived in some of those areas. I can tell you, California Avenue, West Fresno. There was a group of residents there that lived there, said, no, we have a history here of the naming of the street, leave it alone. And then we had other folks, as the corridor went eastward, that said, no, I don't want to change. I don't want my address changed or anything. What we took into account too is folks that live there or had businesses on those county parts. How many of those that are retired that live in homes in those areas? How long is it going to take for them to change their address with the Social Security so they can continue to get their checks? Is that going to get interrupted? And also, how much is it going to affect them for their medication or other deliveries that they need to get and services? And so that was the point that folks were trying to make.
So let's go, and we have like 8 minutes left. I want to leave you with time for a closing statement, but let's talk about industrial development, because it's concentrated in South Fresno. It provides jobs, and it taxes not only for South Fresno, but the county at large and the city. But residents now, with support from social justice groups, are calling for an end to industrial expansion because of environmental concerns. Louis, what have you done to help the local economy while addressing, or this specific issue, while addressing the health concerns of residents?
Yeah, I think
how do you thread the needle on this? And what could we expect from you if you went to the Board of Supervisors?
Exactly what we've done at the city. We're the only entity that has actively worked with these groups, and I want to call them advocacy groups, right? They're CBOs, they're folks like Leadership for Justice, Building Healthy Communities, that quite honestly bring up a lot of good points, right? There's a reason why people that live in that area have a lower life expectancy than people that live in North Fresno. We should account for that. And I've always been supportive of people that want to come to Fresno and invest and, create jobs and economic development. I think my voting record proves that with the distribution centers that we've built there, whether it's Ulta, Amazon, other folks that are now in the pipeline coming there. But they also have to have a responsibility and accountability to make sure that they're mitigating the effects that they're going to have on those communities. I'll give you some quick examples, something that I'm very proud of. The last negotiation that we had with the residents and the group there, all they were asking for were additional filters for their homes so that the dust from the trucks and the pollution that goes through there with diesel trucks doesn't permeate inside to their newborn kid's bedroom, right? Not a big ask. I think that needs to happen. The safer pedestrian ways from the trucks, especially around areas that have schools. There's no reason why we should build a warehouse and not have those folks pay for sidewalks or bike lanes that make it safe for those residents that live there in the areas to have safe access to that. And making sure that they're accounting for what type of materials are they going to use. Is there going to be a concern for contamination of the wells or contamination of the water? That should not be a carte blanche to anybody that wants to come in and just build. We want those businesses here. We want them to support our local economy, but they also need to understand that they need to do their part. They need to actually have accountability and be a true partner for the city. If you're going to come into a neighborhood and, you know, install a warehouse or a facility, great, but do some mitigation on there. And again, those residents weren't asking for that. We got a $10 million grant, provided to them to give them exactly what they were talking about. And by the way, the county decided to not implement their part, right? Because they said that you have to have a house that has to meet code. Otherwise, you wouldn't be eligible for that. So they've been holding some of those funds for those people. I think that needs to change. If you're going to be in the path of those folks, you need to get all the resources that we can possibly provide for them.
And Sal, future industrial development, it's kind of envisioned, and it's not in the city, it's in the county. What's the answer here from your perspective?
Sure. Well, one of the things, of course, that we need to be aware of is jobs in our community, and what's our unemployment rate? How high is it? Well, we need to bring jobs. However, we need to be careful in the types of jobs that we bring. The industrial type of jobs that are coming in or that are being proposed, we need to take a look at those and make some changes in that, because I can tell you that the organizations that are out there that are fighting for cleaner air and that type of thing, because of these industrial places, one question that and I'm not saying it in a snide way, I think it's just working collaboratively say, okay, we all know we need jobs. Can you give us some ideas on where we can put these industrial areas, and what else do we need to do as we do that? Just like a home builder, when they're given approval of building a neighborhood, they're told you got to put sidewalks in, you got to put in street lights, you got to do this and that. And I believe that's how we can work with these advocacy groups, other than the groups just saying no, it doesn't fit there. Okay. Where do you suggest we need to look at, and what do we need to do?
Okay, so let's wrap up tonight, and thank you for viewing. A reminder that the election's on November 5th, but you can actually start voting on Monday, October 7th. Go down to the downtown elections office if you want to vote in person. Be looking at your mailbox, because your mail ballot should be coming by Monday or so. And remember that your vote and voting is essential to our democracy. So, Sal, you had the first opening statement. We're going to let Louis close. Sal, give us in 30 to 45 seconds why voters should elect you.
Well, I want to thank you for this opportunity to share my views and vision and what I hope to accomplish. There's a lot of work that still needs to get done. I've got my list, and I can tell you that it's really important to be able to talk to you as I go door to door, and to also do follow-up with your phone calls. Just remember that my time on the City Council and on the Board of Supervisors, I was responsive in terms of returning my calls and able to work with you to improve our community. So I would ask for your vote this year. Thank you.
Luis?
Yeah, first of all, I want to thank GBY. I want to thank you, Bill, for facilitating this conversation. I think, this is a good conversation for folks to kind of get a view of who we are. But like I said earlier, I've been working for a year and a half, going to every neighborhood. I've covered now myself about 80% of the neighborhoods that are within the District 3 supervisorial area. And I've turned in a lot of things for them in their neighborhoods that we discussed today. Curbs, gutters, trees, lighting, speed bumps, safe routes to school. I have a long list that I've kept, and I believe that list will serve me well when I get to the Board of Supervisors. We've built the broad coalition. I think that's why a lot of folks have, decided to support our campaign. I also have the support of the two previous folks that ran in the primary, from EJ Hinojosa, who's one of the best public servants we have, to my council colleague and friend Miguel Arias. They've endorsed our campaign, and I think it's because they know how hard I work for my constituents. They know that it's not just about experience, but it's about results. I've been able to repave 22 of the 35 neighborhoods that we have in Southeast Fresno. I've invested in making sure that we have 2 health clinics in the area. We're about to break ground on the first regional park, the 49-acre park over on Peach in California. We've worked really hard, and I'm very proud to have authored the Rebuild Fresno initiative that made a concerted effort to invest in those older neighborhoods that had long been neglected. So I humbly ask for their support, and I'm confident that we're going to win in November 5th.
Well, thank you for tuning in tonight. And again, thank you to CMAC and the team at GV Wire for putting this forum together. And finally, vote. It's essential to our democracy.